Daily News Reading, 26th April 2023. Operation Kaveri. First batch of 278 Indians evacuated from Sudan to Jeddah. On the first day of Operation Kaveri, India evacuated 278 citizens from Port Sudan by INS Sumedha and brought them to Jeddah in Saudi Arabia. The government said it had deployed another naval ship, INS Teg, to bring more Indians who have arrived at the port from different parts of Sudan to Jeddah, from where they will be flown back to India in military aircraft. ISIS drug smuggled to Sudan from APT. Tramadol, the pain-relieving opiate notoriously used by Islamic State militants to stay awake for long hours, may have been illegally exported from manufacturers in Telangana and Andhra to war-torn countries including Sudan. Also known as the ISIS drug on the street, it helps fight fatigue besides relieving pain. With 35 medals at Transplant Games, Team India creates waves in Australia, 2 of them from capital, proving that receiving an organ transplant or donating an organ cannot deter anyone from living life to the full. The Team India participants, including 2 heart transplant recipients from Delhi, won 35 medals in the World Transplant Games 2023, which concluded in Australia's Perth on Friday. Mosquito breeding. Construction sites under government scanner. To check vector-borne diseases, the Health Department on the occasion of World Malaria Day directed all construction units in the city to remain vigilant of mosquito breeding sites. Officials said that construction sites must have a proper drainage system and stagnant water should not be found on its premises, else they will be penalized by the Municipal Corporation of Gurgaon. The health officials hope that these initiatives will help prevent and control vector-borne diseases. The general public and land or building owning agencies have also been advised to look out for water stagnation on their premises to prevent breeding of mosquitoes. 13% of those with high glucose levels at risk of diabetic retinopathy study. Nearly 3 million people above the age of 40 are at risk of blindness due to diabetes in the country, according to an All India study published in the Lancet. The numbers may even be higher if all people suffering from diabetes are taken into account, says the study, in which researchers from Ernakulam are involved. Mobile phone explodes, kills 8-year-old playing video games. An 8-year-old girl was killed when the mobile phone on which she was playing video games exploded at her house at Thiruvilvamala in Kerala's Thrissur district. The girl, Aditya Sri, was a class 3 student and the only daughter of her parents. Refinery protests. Fadnavis fires Supari salvo at Uddhav. Ex-CM okayed site, claims Maha Minister. Airlines saving lakhs a year on denied boarding payout. As a flyer, are you aware of rights? 15 deaths but sharp dip in COVID cases. The daily tally of COVID cases witnessed a sharp reduction on Tuesday, with only 6,660 new cases being reported from across the country. Rats had a hand in creating longest running Omicron variant. While the origins of the pandemic causing SARS-CoV-2 virus are still hotly debated, a group of Indian scientists is certain rodents played a role in creating Omicron, the last COVID-19 variant to emerge 17 months ago. Times Music to partner US Primary Wave. Times Music on Tuesday announced its partnership with New York headquartered Primary Wave Music, a leading independent publisher of iconic music, in a transaction that will help accelerate the growth of the Times of India Group's subsidiaries' regional film and non-film music catalogs in global markets. Mahindra to boost Scorpio production to ease backlog. Mahindra is ramping up production by 60% of its new Scorpio and SUV to reduce the delivery backlog. The minimum waiting period for Scorpio N is 8 to 10 months. We are planning to increase production of the Scorpio range from 6,000 to 10,000 units a month in the third quarter, which should help get the pending deliveries under control, said M&M Automotive Division Vijay Nakra. WHO warns of biohazard risk in Sudan. Seized lab stores measles, cholera pathogens for vax. Rahane back in test squad for WTC final. 14 months after being dropped from India's test team and a month after losing his Indian Cricket Board central contract, Ajinkya Rahane has been recalled to the test team for the World Test Championship final to be played against Australia at the Oval in London in June. Sharjah Stadium stand named after Tendulkar. The Sharjah Cricket Stadium has honoured India batting great Sachin Tendulkar on his 50th birthday by naming a stand after him. The venue held a ceremony for the former India captain on Monday, announcing that the West Stand had been renamed the Sachin Tendulkar Stand. Refinery protests. Fadnavis fires Supari salvo at Uddhav. Ex-CM okayed site, claims Maha Minister. Protests against the proposed Ratnagiri Refinery and Petrochemicals Limited RRPL complex at Barsu in Maharashtra's Ratnagiri escalated on Tuesday despite a police clampdown which led to over 100 arrests. Deputy CM Devendra Fadnavis and Industries Minister Uday Samant defended their handling of the issue amid demands from opposition leaders including Ajit Pawar and Aditya Thackeray to stall the work. Fadnavis, without naming Shiv Sena members, said people from Mumbai are opposing the project. They had opposed Array, Samruddhi Marg and now the refinery. I want to ask if they have taken Supari, he said. Conflict in the Konkan. Ratnagiri Refinery and Petrochemicals Limited project is a joint venture between state-owned oil marketing firms IOCL, HPCL and BPCL. Saudi Aramco and Abu Dhabi National Oil Co. have signed MOU to participate in the JV. Refinery was initially proposed at Nanar in Ratnagiri district, but due to environment and rehab concerns, the site was shifted. Under MVA government, Thackeray wrote to the centre to shift project site to Barsu in Rajapur Taluka in the same district. State had proposed 13,000 acres to be made available for acquisition, of which 90% of land is barren. Local women of Barsu village stage a protest against the petrochemical refinery project in the area at Rajapur Taluka in Ratnagiri district on Tuesday. Women protesters arrested. Drilling for soil testing begins. Airlines saving lakhs a year on denied boarding payout. As a flyer, are you aware of rights? In DGCA rules under civil aviation requirements, denied boarding is defined as refusal to carry a passenger holding a confirmed ticket although he or she has presented himself or herself for boarding within the time specified by the airline. It's not denied boarding if the airline has reasonable grounds such as health, safety or security or inadequate travel documentation. The rules: an airline can overbook and deny boarding. The airline must first ask volunteers to give up seats to make them available for other booked passengers in exchange for benefits or facilities. If no volunteers turn up, the airline can deny boarding to passengers. If boarding is denied to a passenger who has a valid ticket and who reached the check-in counter on time, the airline should accommodate the passenger on a flight departing within an hour of the original flight. If not possible, then it should pay compensation. Compensation: 200% of basic fare plus airline fuel charge, maximum rupees 10,000. If airline gives alternative flight scheduled to depart within 24 hours of original flight. Compensation: 200% of basic fare plus airline fuel charge, maximum rupees 10,000. If airline gives alternative flight scheduled to depart within 24 hours of original flight. 400% of basic fare plus airline fuel charge, maximum rupees 20,000. If airline gives alternative flight scheduled to depart more than 24 hours after original flight. 400% of basic fare plus airline fuel charge, maximum of rupees 20,000 plus refund of full value of ticket if passenger does not opt for alternative flight. WHO warns of biohazard risk in Sudan. Seized lab stores measles, cholera pathogens for vax. Fighting in Sudan eased on Tuesday and more foreigners and locals fled the capital Khartoum, where marauding combatants created what a UN agency said was a high risk of biological hazard by seizing a laboratory. The WHO said one of the warring parties had taken control of a national health facility that stores measles and cholera pathogens for vaccinations and ejected the technicians. It gave few details and did not say which of the two sides, the army or the paramilitary rapid support forces (RSF), had captured the lab, which also contains a major blood bank. Speaking to reporters in Geneva via video link from Sudan, the WHO's Nima Said Abid said, gunmen had thrown technicians out of the National Public Health Laboratory. This is the main concern. No accessibility to the lab technicians to go to the lab and safely contain the biological material and substances available, he said. An exodus of embassies and aid workers from Africa's third largest country has raised fears that civilians who remain will be in greater danger if an alternative to hostilities is not found before a 3-day truce ends on Thursday. Yasir Arman, a leading figure in a civilian political coalition, the Forces for Freedom and Change, urged humanitarian groups and the international community to help restore water and electricity and send generators to hospitals. There are bodies scattered in streets and sick people who cannot find medicine, no water nor electricity. People should be allowed to bury their dead during the ceasefire. He said one Khartoum resident who declined to give his name said he feared that with fewer international observers, fighting forces would show less respect for civilians. The UN Humanitarian Office said it had cut back activities due to the fighting. With civilians leaving Khartoum in cars and buses, the streets of the city were largely emptied of ordinary daily life. RSP fighters were visible in many parts of the city, with the army deployed in other areas. The fighting has turned residential areas into battlefields. Airstrikes and artillery shells have killed at least 459 people, wounded 4,000, destroyed hospitals, and limited food distribution in a nation already reliant on aid for a third of its 46 million people. Foreign countries have airlifted embassy staff out after several attacks on diplomats, including the killing of an Egyptian attack shot on his way to work. Some countries are also extracting their private citizens. UK launched a large-scale evacuation of its nationals on military flights from an airfield north of Khartoum. France and Germany said they had each evacuated more than 500 people of various nationalities and that a French commando had been hit by crossfire during the operation.